Too sweet!
Hi, I'm Jarrett Hood. This is Dwight Garfield. This is JD Sports. You can find our Twitters at the JD Sports Twitter, which is @_JD Sport. You can find everything else on the YouTube page, which is in the link below, obviously. We're talking about the NFL. We're going to get right into it, okay?
Let's do it.
New England in the Jets. That was a great 1 o'clock game.
Yeah, definitely.
New England pulled it off, did what they had to do, but it came down to the wire late. It looked a lot better. Fitzpatrick, who seems like he has struggle, throwing the deep ball, but everything else in their game looked like it's all right. I mean, hey, listen, it's against the Patriots. You're going to look pretty bad at times.
Right.
But
what are you going to do?
Overall, I think that the Jets, they held their own, obviously, and
absolutely.
They're still second in the division. They're playing well. I mean, what'd you get from that game?
Jets definitely held their own against New England. The problem is that when you face a juggernaut like that, you can only do so much. But the fact that their defense was able to hold on and kind of contain that powered offense down a little bit, it was kind of impressive on their part.
Yeah, I agree. Brady came through in the clutch, did what he had to do. Finding Gronk there at the end, it was impressive. They had to come back overall throughout the second half and whatnot. But, the Jets' defense, they look pretty well throughout most of the game. They just have to figure out a way to wrap it up. But the Jets' defense, if they cover Gronk at the end or something, they really could have won that game for New England. The fact that they put them in the position they did was pretty good.
It's very impressive. That's probably the toughest challenge to date. So
yeah, I agree. And New England is undefeated, and looking further in their schedule, it doesn't look like they have a whole lot of difficult task ahead. We'll see going forward where they might go. But back to the Jets, we talk about this every time we talk about them. When Geno is healthy, would you go back? Fitzpatrick's not playing elite football. You know what I mean? It's not like he's playing...
No, he's not.
Great, but he's game managing well. And like I said, it looks like he has a hard time throwing over like 15, 20 yards. It looks like he's having a little difficult time there. But overall, their record speaks for itself. They're 4-2.
Right, and we kind of touched base on it before. I don't feel like you can get away from what's actually working and the fact that, you said it, Brian Fitzpatrick isn't putting up these elite numbers, but he's doing enough. They're getting the wins. They got the running game great. The defense is fantastic.
He's playing really well.
Why go against something that's already working? You almost beat the Patriots.
The wide receiving core is playing really well for the Jets. Brandon Marshall, but that's what I'm saying.
Aaron Decker's playing very well.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If you think Geno has more talent with how well the wide receivers are playing, would you maybe want to give him a shot? Because if he can find Brandon Marshall 20 yards down the field, isn't that a little better than Fitzpatrick not being able to throw more than 10 or 15 yards?
I don't think Geno has showed enough that we can confidently say that, no, it is the better look. In theory, it would be a better idea to go with Geno just because,
if he has the ability.
Right, if he has that ability, but we're not in a comfortable enough spot to say, no, he's definitely without a shadow of doubt better than Ryan Fitzpatrick at this point in this system. Ryan Fitzpatrick is rolling right now. He's not playing great, but they're winning or they're holding on like they did against New England. So why go against it? I don't go against that.
I would stay with Fitzpatrick. I believe in they're 4-2. As I said, they're winning. So if they're winning, why would you change it? Especially if you're playing well with the Patriots. Speaking of the Patriots, Brady, I think he's not only playing MVP level, not just elite level. He might be playing some of the best football of his career. Very Michael Jordan-esque into his 30s, getting deeper into his career, playing some of his best. His best. But at the same time, I think it was Houston, and I forget the other team. Maybe Tennessee has only thrown more than the Patriots. So that means they've thrown well over 70% of the time. Which that means he is basically controlling the entire game for them. Which why wouldn't you leave the game in Tom Brady's hands? He's playing the best football of his career. It's crazy. He said he wants to play for another 10 years, and
it's not unrealistic. It is, but it's not.
It is, right? It feels like 10 years is a long time, but at the same time.
But when I look at him, I see such a poise about him. Like when he hikes the ball and he steps back and he's just confident. You see this kind of swag with him.
Time might be the only thing that ever catches up. Like his body literally will just give out on him at one point, the way Peyton Manning's is. But at the same time, this is impressive to watch how he's just controlling the game with his mind and with his arm and him and Belichick got something crazy going on up there.
Something's working. We don't know. I don't really understand it, but he's holding on.
I think that, and it's another conversation for a different day, but I think that Rodgers and Flacco, Cam, and I think that you could throw a bunch of other names in there, not to leave anybody out, but I just think it's crazy to think that any of them should right now be the MVP over Tom Brady because he's just what he's done. Outside of Gronk, we talk about how Cam isn't playing with anything, but we're just so used to Brady not having elite wide receivers or elite talent on the outside that
ideally forever.
We don't even talk about it anymore. We don't talk about how they're rotating 3 or 4 running backs. We don't even talk about that stuff anymore. So as much as I talk Cam up the way I do and how impressed I am with how he's doing it, we don't even mention the same exact issues that Brady has, and look at what he does. So
no, instead we talk about what they're making and
at the age he's doing it at, and just the numbers he's putting up and the amount of times the ball is in his hand that he really has to make the play. It's impressive.
It's very impressive.
We could go on all day. I love Tom Brady. He's probably my favorite player I've ever been able to watch in my lifetime. So and to me, I was never able to watch it. I love Notre Dame, so I wish that I could say Joe Montana is the greatest quarterback of all time. But to me,
for what you've seen,
it might be Tom Brady. You know what I mean? From my eyes, but staying in their division. Dan Campbell and the Miami Dolphins.
What in the world is going on down in Miami?
Oh
my God! What was it? What was the score? 40 something.
The day before in MetLife Stadium, Clemson beat Miami 58-0.
Was that the redemption game?
Well, they said that people were literally rooting to try to see if another team could put up 58, 2 days in a row. That's just, and it wasn't unthinkable for that to happen. So Dan Campbell, is this him? We talked about
everybody's saying that it's him. I can't say it's not him.
We talked about how much talent they had before the season. You and I both. We said the biggest thing we thought was crazy was going to be their secondary, and their secondary hasn't looked all that well over the season, except for the last 2 games. Everything has looked well for Miami.
And it's easy to say that now.
Right, it's easy to say that now. This is exceeding any expectations that we thought they had before.
I'm kind of going to go against the grain a little bit. Granted, we both said that they could probably get together with the talent that we thought that they had. I'm going against the grain a little bit. I don't think that this is going to continue on moving. It's having this little moment, and it's cool.
The one thing that nobody has pointed out is the 2 teams that they played. Neither of them are elite talent, but it's impressive.
They're getting the win. They're doing what they're supposed to do, and that's what we talk about with other teams, with other games. They're doing what they're supposed to do. Do I think that this type of momentum with Dan Campbell's going to carry on? No, because a lot of coaches that come in and shake things up, eventually it kind of just fades off, and then it goes back to reality. So is this the same situation?
Yes,
probably.
But
I think it is.
And I know that we talked about the teams they played, but you can't go against 82 points in 2 games. They scored a combined 65 points or something like that throughout the entire season. So what he's done the last 2 games, while it's against not great talent, and how much talent they have is like we said before, we knew they had it. It's somebody brought it out on them. They're doing it against the good teams. Hey, listen, they still got to play the Patriots twice, right? So
exactly.
Hey,
they also have the Jets in their division.
If you rattle off 2 wins against the Patriots, you have a chance of winning your division. that division. So and if they play at the level that they played the last 2 games. Who's to say that they couldn't compete with the Patriots for 2 games? So we'll see. Definitely. I'm with you. I think it falls off, and I think by season's end,
it kind of just evens out. They don't go back to being what they were, but they're not
If I was held to a prediction, I would say Dan Campbell's just an interim coach. But
I think that's very
if
realistic.
they play this way all season, then obviously he will be the head coach moving forward. If he gives them this this kind of hope the whole entire season. Quickly about Houston. Clowney celebrating down 42 points because he got his first sack was just incredibly crazy. Why? Dude, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's clownish, bro.
His first ever sack of his career, finally. Is he going to be as bad as Jamarcus Russell? I wouldn't put him there yet, but a lot of people have already comparing that.
No.
First overall draft pick, though. And he hasn't looked good. He got injured for a whole season.
Defensive lineman, that's completely different from a Jamarcus Russell, which it was just lazy and he was just trash. I can't say that Clowney's trash at this point, but that is kind of ridiculous. You're celebrating your first sack and you're down what you're down. 42,
yeah. And J.J. Watt got 2 sacks in the game, but it's crazy. You don't see him really in highlights anymore. He's not making the J.J. Watt plays that he was making last year. I don't know if that's as much
playing well.
I don't know if that's as much as that he can't do it or as much as he has no real reason to, because he made all those plays last year, put himself in the MVP conversation, and they won 6 games at max last year.
Put himself out there for what?
Yeah, exactly. he was, and it's not that it's just putting himself out there, but he's not probably going after the ball the way he was before. He's just getting his sacks and walking back to the huddle. He's making his money. I'd like to see them keep Bill O'Brien, see them get a half-decent quarterback in there because he's such a great quarterback groomer. I don't know if we see it.
They just got rid of Brian Hoyer.
No, Mallett, and you know why?
Right. Ryan Mallett.
You know why?
Why's that?
Because for the third time in his career, he was late to something. He missed the charter flight to the...
Yeah, I remember.
He overslept.
About that.
And in training camp, the day after they announced that he was going to be the backup and Hoyer would be the starter, he overslept and missed the team meetings in the morning.
That's
and
unacceptable.
In the draft process, they said he had an interview with a certain team. I forget what team it was, and he overslept and missed the meeting with that team. So that's 3 times since he's been out of college that he's overslept for things in the NFL. You're not going to be starting quarterback in this league doing that. So
Genius, bro.
Yeah, well,
Real
he got cut. I doubt he ever gets signed again. But who knows? I mean, there's going to be teams out there
might get an opportunity to be a
right.
backup.
Maybe you keep him. I don't know. If you can't be the backup for the Texans, it's going to be rough to be the backup somewhere else. Nothing against the Texans. Like I said,
it is everything against the Texans. If
like
you can't back up on the Texans,
yeah, I hear you. But
come on now.
But like I said, I'd like to see them get a quarterback in there next year. Like somehow draft a good quarterback. Maybe I said it before about the Penn State quarterback Hackenberg.
We talk about the quarterbacks. We don't know if Foster's going to be there next year.
Yeah, no, I hear you. The injury, that's 2 years
So
in a row.
unfortunate.
Plus what I feel horrible for the guy.
Who knows where? I don't know where the future is with Houston right now.
Or,
It wasn't that long ago that we were talking about how decent and solid they were.
no, I agree.
This wasn't that long ago.
No,
And now look at them.
Yep.
It's a shame.
Moving on, Philly went to Carolina for the Sunday night game, and man, that was rough to watch. But it was because Sam Bradford, I feel like, had his best game this game. It was just the 8 drop balls, 7 in the books, but I count the one that Matthews dropped and ended up being picked off. That doesn't count as a drop in the books, but he dropped that football.
Yeah.
4 of the 8 were on 3rd down, and I think 3 of those 4 were past the sticks. So it's inexcusable. They have a chance to win a game against an undefeated, really good team, really good defense, top 10
They were on the
offense
run.
and defense.
Yeah.
The Eagles I thought they looked well outside of their receivers. Listen, it's individual mistakes. And my thing with the Eagles is they're not talented to overcome individual mistakes. So you need to stop making individual mistakes. But I thought when Peters went down, the offensive line came together.
That was such a blow for
But
them.
they played
Such
well.
a blow.
The offensive line, Bradford wasn't sacked until the last series after Peters went down. In the last series, he was sacked twice, and then Miles dropped the ball and 4th down. The whole thing it irritated me, but... Good news is Sam Bradford played his best game, and it was in the latest week against the best team. Bad news is if I'm saying that Sam Bradford's best game was against Carolina at the end of the season, then the season was horrible and the Eagles look silly. So.
Well, you guys need to stop dropping these passes. That's first and foremost.
It's a problem, and I said it a couple weeks ago that it was a problem.
So does that go back to Chip getting rid of players that could actually catch the ball?
No, because
is the talent out there?
But it's not that he got rid of Deshaun Jackson because him and Deshaun Jackson didn't get along, and he wasn't going to overpay for Macklin.
I get it.
All he did was get rid of one player. It's not like he blew up, an entire wide receiving core. He still has one wide receiver from the Andy Reid era.
Cooper.
Right, and I'm sitting here agreeing with you that I'm not the biggest Riley Cooper fan in the world either. So
right.
I'm I'm not as against Chip as you are. It just is what it is.
I'm so against Chip.
I know, but I don't
understand. So you're dropping passes. So why did you get rid of the talent that you have? So now you don't have any reliable wide receivers. Or you didn't re-sign the talent that you had.
But on the flip end of that, it's not like Huff in college or last year was dropping passes. It's not like Matthews in college or last year was dropping passes. It's not like Miles Austin was known as a person who was dropping passes. Not that he was known as ever an elite wide receiver, but it's not like he was dropping passes for Dallas or for Cleveland. It's not like he could see. It's not like Chip could see this coming. He had guys who literally played well over time, and. He put himself in a bad position with the Deshaun Jackson thing just by letting a talent like that go. But he did it for his own personal reasons and then the next year you run into the Macklin situation and he got left with this. So you're right, these are questions that he has to answer because it's a specific position that he built. But when you start losing, that's when the questions really start to amplify because then we are asking questions about you as a personnel guy. But I understand, but it's not like wide receiver is something they couldn't go out and fix after the season. If that's the biggest issue after the year, and listen, if they keep losing games because of 8 drop balls, obviously that's the biggest issue, and you got to go out and get better wide receivers. But if that's the biggest issue on the team, then I can get past that because if the defense is playing really well, if they can build a little better with the offensive line, and if Sam Bradford can turn into the talent that they thought he could, and like I said, and the receivers are the only problem, then you're not far off. But as of right now, there's so many other things going on that, yes, this game was the receiver's fault, but there's other losses in the books that you put on other people.
So what about Carolina?
Well, I mean,
so how do they do?
At the end of the day, Carolina's undefeated.
At the end of the day, they got the win, right?
What's crazy to me, and the Eagles' defense has played really well against running teams all season. Carolina flipped it and reversed it and had their best rushing game with Jonathan Stewart and Tolbert this game, and Cam had the lowest rushing game of his season. It was really confusing to me. It was really weird, and it was really irritating to watch because you know they can stop them, and you know these guys aren't as good as they're playing against you. But as I tell you every week, the three things I like about Carolina: good defense, smart and good quarterback, and a really good offensive line. So you have running backs like that, and I say it all the time how hard it is to play offensive line. I was watching Carolina's offensive line; they were I loved watching it, and it sucked because it was against my team. But they were
smacking you on and off a little
bit. But when it's against other teams, they are fun to watch. It really is. It was hard to watch, but they were opening holes for Jonathan Stewart, who has done how much in the last couple of years. Tolbert's not that. He's not an all-star running back or anything like that. So the fact that they were getting the carries they were and getting the yards that they were, it was frustrating and tough to watch. But hey, Cam played well. Listen, only one of the 3 interceptions was his fault, but he threw 3 interceptions.
You're right.
And I thought when he did take off, he ran the ball well. He's such a beast. He's such a monster.
Can we talk about that goal line run that he did?
Mm-hmm, where it's
just a one-hander.
Dude,
that was kind of.
There was a pass in the first quarter where most quarterbacks have to move out of the pocket because the line is coming towards them.
Right.
He literally just got up a little bit and threw the ball above everybody. And he's his size and his ability. He has the chance to change the quarterback position. He has the chance to at least be elite in a different version that we've never seen before. He can just be a whole different specimen because of his size and his ability. I don't know if he'll ever flourish into that, but those are the reasons that you say I'm a big Cam Newton fan, and I am, and I love it. Right. It's just so impressive, and it sucks because he plays the Eagles every year. And 2-2 playing Cam Newton in the 2 games that he won, he played really well in those games. So.
Right, he did. He did enough. He got the job done. I thought going back to the defense, I thought the defense was going to actually embarrass you guys. They didn't necessarily do that, but they held you guys down enough.
You go so in on Chip Kelly. Do you think Sam Bradford looked
defined well?
He didn't
just
look
the eye test, just saying that he looked well.
He didn't look terrific. I understand.
He looked.
But
if I ignore the fact that there was so many drop passes, do I think he played better than what he has looked? Yes. Yeah. Do I think he is the answer? No.
No, I hear you on that, but I'm just saying,
he was more accurate, but the numbers won't necessarily show that he was more accurate.
I think someone said if they catch 6 of the 8 balls that they drop, then he throws 60% in the game, which, hey, I mean, that's good.
That's very good. So, that's very good.
We'll see. I understand. Going back to Carolina, they won 11 of their last 12 regular season games. 12 of their last 13 if you include the playoffs.
Statistics or whatever.
Right.
But when you actually are getting
the fact that they're getting it.
Right. When you actually get these types of wins, when a defense is dominating like you are, and when you got a Cam Newton that's holding the ball like a basketball and just going into the end zone like it's nothing.
And the wide receiving core. I mean, Ted Ginn's resurgent somehow.
Yeah.
Olsen's always been playing really well.
He's playing fantastic. I still want to see more out of Cam's passing game, but it's just going to be an ongoing thing.
Me too. And as I said,
but
there's a lot of things. Like I said, he was a lot bigger and he was just thrown over the line. He has the ability to be a better passer, and I'm with you. That's why I don't think he's at that level that I talk about him at, because he's not flourishing in that yet. He didn't in college, and he really hasn't except his rookie year. So I don't know if he ever will turn into the elite passer that we think he can be, but.
Maybe it's not so much the extreme of where you put him at. Maybe it's not so much the extreme where I put him at. Maybe he just is in the middle.
And to be honest with you, I think Sam Bradford's somewhere in the middle where everybody talks about him as well. I think that people are too low on him, and I think that people who are high on him are too high on him. And I was one of those people before the season that I thought his ability was going to bring him in the Eagles system. But here we are. And he's normal, he's human. If you have the talent to be elite, you're not just going to turn around in 7 weeks and be elite. You know what I mean? You're going to have to figure it out. I don't know if he can be elite. I don't know if he has the talent to be elite. But he looked good in Week 7 against the best defense they played. They got to figure it out with the wide receivers, though. And the offensive line. And Peters, he said he was going to be good. He said he was going to be coming back.
That's such a blow. It was already a spotty line as it is.
And he was even, he even struggles from time to time, which is hard to watch because he's better than that. But I think he's just playing with so many injuries, and that's why he struggles from time time to time. They really stepped up until that last series. It was disappointing to watch them give up 2 sacks on that last series because, yes, on that first play, when Peters went down, the next play, the 2 DNs came around, and they looked like they were just going to sandwich Bradford, and his helmet was going to pop off, and he stepped up, and they almost ran into each other, and he made a nice throw. Obviously, it was dropped, and it was 3rd down, so the Eagles went off the field. But the fact, like, I thought after that, I was like, man, they're done. Like, he's just going to get sacked every time he dropped back to pass. I was impressed throughout the rest of the game until the end. So if they can put it together, if Peters can come back, man, I still have hope, but, I mean, with the Giants, who... moving on in Dallas, if you keep talking about it, what about that, man? I mean, Cole Beasley dropping the ball. You can't just blame the loss on him. But
I'm not putting up a whole blame. I'm not putting.
Right.
I can't put.
No, you shouldn't. No, people are crazy. You can't blame a whole football game on one play.
You're absolutely right. I hate when people do that. Oh my God, we would have won this game if it wasn't for this one play. No, you have 60 minutes to get it right.
While Butler's play in the Super Bowl is one of the greatest plays of all time in the Super Bowl because of what was on the line. He literally won a championship by one play. All that needed to change history was Russell Wilson connecting, 6 plays earlier for a touchdown or something like that. You know what I mean? Like just because it happened on the last play, yes, it was magnificent, crazy. But I thought that the Seahawks got way too much flack for that because you can't. You're not basing a whole football game on one play.
You're not, and that's the thing is that people just say that's the deciding play. Not necessarily. It's just so happened to be the last one, like you said. It's the highlight. Yes, it's the highlight.
Yes, it comes down to it, but like
it's
something different happened.
59 minutes.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Stop it. So Matt Castle, I feel like I should touch base on him just a little bit.
He didn't look like trash until he threw 3 interceptions in 5 plays.
As I'm watching he's got jokes. No, but I mean...
I liked it. I thought he didn't play bad until
It's so easy to say, but I'm going to say it, and this is exactly what I was thinking when I watched it. The good looked really good.
No, I agree.
The bad was like, what are you
Matt
doing?
Castle.
This is why you are backing up, because... As you said, Mike Castle. He did open it up more. He was able to chuck the ball down the field, and when there was a couple times where he would just get it in narrowly to his receiver, and it was like, ooh, that should have been a pick. That should have been a pick. That was a drop pick, but sometimes it didn't happen. He could potentially have 4 or 5 interceptions, but when sometimes it just worked his way. But in the end, when you have 3 turnovers like that,
to be fair, I say it all the time about Bradford and getting back in the routine of things. Castle hasn't started a game in how long? So for that to be him just getting thrown in the fire after only watching 2 games on the Cowboys uniform on the sideline, only really working with this team for 3 weeks now in practice, first team for the first time this week for the full week.
It wasn't horrible.
No, it wasn't. And
one of those picks was Terrence Williams that didn't necessarily get the ball where he should have gotten.
No, I completely agree.
He didn't necessarily get after the ball.
I don't think all, and I said it like I said about Cam Newton and Bradford. I don't think all the picks are always on quarterback.
No, it's not. It's the same thing with Cam Newton in his pass game.
Right, exactly.
It's the same thing.
Right, and I don't think that Castle. Yes, while like you said, he had plenty where he threw it right to the defender and they dropped it. While he could have had more than 3 picks, he also could have had less than 3 picks if his wide receivers didn't drop a ball or miss a route or whatever.
He had that one bomb at one point where he chucked it in. He was trying to chuck it into the end zone, and that was hard. That was a bad decision. But other than that,
I completely agree. They got to win a game or two, or else Romo probably won't be coming back. I mean, they got to win a game or two, and then realistic in the next 2 or 3 weeks before.
And this is where that whole Atlanta and New Orleans thing is really about to come back and bite us in the ass because we got Seattle coming up, because we got Philly after that, and then we have I believe Tampa Bay after that.
Yeah, so.
Which I mean everybody assumes that's the win, but if Tony Romo's gone and we only get that one win, it's a wrap. You might just keep them off. It's not worth it at this point. We're done.
The thing that can give them hope is that Seattle secondary is having a hard time covering elite receivers, and Dez Bryant is probably coming back this week. And Dez Bryant likes beating the heck out of the Eagles, so he'll definitely be back for that. We all know he will be back for the Eagles game.
There's that, and then you got the other side of it where our defensive line against their offensive line is... It's promising. It's very promising.
Yes, I agree.
I also kind of said the same thing about the Giants, but this is, I mean, we've been talking about it all year. Seattle's offensive line is a problem, and our defensive line, especially since Greg Hardy's jumped on, has been a complete force to be reckoned with.
I completely agree, but speaking of Greg Hardy, I'm not against like players being animated on the sideline or like even getting fired up. I like the way that Dez acts on the sideline. But I think you're crossing the line when you're putting 2 hands on a coach, or when you're snapping a clipboard out of his hand, or when you're basically in the face of the special teams and screaming and yelling and not positive things. Like Dez is yelling and sometimes it's not necessarily positive, but you know it's always coming from a positive place. I'm not necessarily sure that Greg Hardy has the respect in the locker room to be yelling disrespectful things and doing disrespectful things to coaches. And where my issue comes in is, while I don't have a problem with players being animated, I have a problem with the way that he has conducted himself over the last 2 years.
Right.
You don't have the leash to do this. And I think that the Cowboys have enough players who are like, Jason Garrett doesn't have to worry about him, where if you have a Dez Bryant or you have a Greg Hardy, you can just be like,
whatever.
We can control, if we have 52-man roster and 4 of them are out of control, like Dez and Greg Hardy and whoever else you want to throw in that mix, then we just got to worry about 4 players, and the rest of the team is going to be in bed by the time that we tell them to be in bed and not out partying and not screaming and yelling on the sidelines and just doing what we asked them to do type thing. You know what I mean? So I do think that Greg Hardy's not the worst case scenario for Dallas, but I don't like seeing that.
Greg Hardy's problem is who he is and where he's coming from, especially even the past couple weeks ago when he was talking about Brady and his wife and all that fun
You
stuff.
don't want that.
The problem is...
Not from him.
Exactly. It's because of who you are, and, it's kind of to a fault. Even if I could say, which I won't say, even if I wanted to say he was in the right place, he was trying to, say, what the hell's going on? Let's get together. Come on, guys.
If it was a Dez kind of fire.
Right, and if it was a Dez Bryant doing it, then I'm saying, okay, whatever.
Let's go.
And even Greg Hardy, I understand where he was coming from.
Yeah,
and in theory, I was cool with it. But you can't walk up being who you are with your recent history, going up and slapping the coach, having the coach, or slapping the clipboard off and having the coach push you out. It's not a good look, bro. Come on, get the shit together. I don't like it.
Outside of the disrespectful comments that he had towards the players and doing the disrespectful stuff to the coach. Like his comments that he said about Brady and Brady's wife and her sister coming to the game and stuff. If, say, Ocho Cinco said that 5 years ago, everyone would have laughed and thought it was funny and been like, oh, that's good. If you put those exact comments in his mouth, it's coming out a little different. But because, like you said, it's Greg Hardy.
And his recent history.
you can't say that
little different, bro.
You can't say that stuff. And he did. And doing this in the Giants, my issue is that they still have a chance to win their division, and he's
a key part of that.
But to me, he's drawing a line in the sand in the locker room by doing these kind of things. And how long can that last? Like, if you get 3 more weeks and he's still blowing up like this, you're gonna have players who are like, why can he do this? Or why hasn't he been conducted yet? Or whatever. And
Jerry has come out and said he wants to sign to a long-term deal. I want him to be signed from a football perspective.
Yeah, he's great. He's an amazing football player.
I want that fire on my defensive line.
I can only imagine playing him in practice every day. If he's that crazy on a football field, I'm sure he's going a billion miles an hour on a practice field.
But when we're continuously losing like this, and you have this fire, which a fire is cool, but when you start crossing certain lines, even if it's subtle here and there, getting in, slapping the clipboard down, people are going to blow it up into something even bigger than what it already would have been if it was a Dez Bryant. If it was a Dez Bryant slapping the clipboard, we would have been saying the same thing. But because of who you are, Greg Hardy, and what you have been doing, it's an even bigger deal than that, and we can't have that. And when you do that, Jerry Jones is going to sign you.
Right.
So if you want your money, bro, calm it down. I would love to have you, but you can't be. You gotta control it. You gotta control it and make it work in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think he might have understood that when he did the interviews after the fact. I don't know if somebody got in his ear or he understood, I'm drawing too much attention. I'm just gonna say next question, whatever. Then he said, I appreciate y'all by the end. He didn't want to talk about it. Good, because at this point, don't open your mouth. Just go out there, do your thing, go home. That's all you need to do at this point.
It doesn't come off the way that Belichick does it. When it came off a little more cocky and a little more cynical because he doesn't have the rapport with the reporters in Dallas or whatever in the major markets yet. But at the same time, I'm with you as a Cowboys fan. It's not the worst thing in the world that he did that because it's better than him opening his mouth and saying something stupid.
I'd much rather him wanting him just to shout about the situation. Like I said, maybe somebody got in his ear. They said maybe Tony Romo might have talked to him afterwards in the back, and maybe he said something to him. I don't know. Nobody has that information, but I was cool to see that. So, a lot of people are up in arms about it. It's mainly reporters that are pissed that they didn't get a story or a headline. Right. You had your headline, and now he's trying to back out of it. Good for him. Yeah. Just now, keep your mouth shut. Stop acting stupid.
Yeah.
Period.
I agree. Moving forward, just so Giants fans don't get too mad at us, they're in the driver's seat in the division. Speaking of that, our next portion, we usually talk about our top fives, but this week, we had buys in the top 5. None of them. Our top 5s really haven't changed, so the Dwight came to me with a new idea about bringing divisions in.
Talk about some of the divisions that are kind of close.
Right, talking about some of the divisions that are kind of close. Since like I said, we got to talk about the Giants and give them a little love. They are in the driver's seat because of the Eagles, how they fell in line, and now the Eagles going on a bye week. The Giants are in the driver's seat to take a really good hold on the division.
Right, yeah.
Even though they're losses to the Eagles.
Right, right now they're in first place. They're 2-2 in the division. I guess my question is, since I kind of, this was kind of something I threw at you, did the Giants hold on to this? I mean, you were kind of more so than me coming at me saying that when the Cowboys get healthy, and now we're getting to a point where we're like, well, we don't even know if we're even going to throw Roma out there. So, are the Giants in the driver's seat at this point?
It's so frustrating because, like...
Because I don't know. It's hard. It's so hard to say. I don't want to say Dallas, and I don't want to say... Well, I don't want to see any of the teams, really. But if I'm going to say one team and I have to pick one, I probably would say the Giants just because they've been a little more consistent than anybody else up until this point.
I agree with that. My thing with that is when it comes to late in the season, their defense isn't all that good.
No.
And if they get exposed really bad... like the
offense is hit or miss as well.
My thing is, I have a hard time saying the Eagles because I have no clue what the Eagles offense is going to do. If the Eagles offense gets it together, they stop dropping balls, they can excel forward. With how good that defense is, and if Dallas never gets healthy, then the Eagles should, hypothetically, take care of the division. But who knows what they're going to be doing moving forward. I'm biased, so I'm going to pick the Eagles because I have faith that the Eagles, I personally think the Eagles should be able to take care of this division. But at the same time, it is what it is. The Giants literally lead the division, so...
And they literally seem to be the more consistent out of everybody right now.
And that's crazy.
Even though they're not winning all the time, but I don't know.
I still don't think it's unrealistic to think that Dallas... I mean, I know, like you said, their schedule does not dictate it, but I don't know if they're going to beat Philly or Seattle, but they're definitely... They have to, obviously, then beat Tampa Bay. Like you said, if they would have gotten those wins against... the other two when they should have.
Different conversation.
Then Romo can come back and
maybe do some work. Maybe take control of the division. And
if they lose the next two games, no matter what their schedule looks like after that, is there any shot that Romo comes back? Do you think?
No, not at all. What's the point? I feel like they need to win both. If they only get one, then it's I'm kind of just no. If they only get one win, then I don't know how I feel about it. It's just I'm done with them. I don't know if they get it. Because they got the Seahawks coming to town, and then they go back to Philly, and Philly's going to want that revenge game, and Philly is slowly putting some pieces together. A little better. So it could be a completely different ball game.
And other than
we haven't even touched on Washington.
I mean, but Dez will be coming. I like Washington as a team, but I always go back to Kirk Cousins as their quarterback, and I don't have faith in him. I have more faith in Sam Bradford, Eli Manning, or maybe Matt Castle over Kirk Cousins.
Right. Did you see that little hype-up video?
Yeah, he was pumped.
That was hilarious. I mean, that was one of the funniest things.
He's done that twice this year. He's brought his team down in one on the last drive of the game.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
It was against Tampa Bay.
He did it once against in front of my eyes. So, I mean, it's really hard for me to talk crap on Kirk Cousins. But at the same time, he also had a lot of horrible plays in front of my eyes that day. Right. That's why I talk a lot of crap on Kirk Cousins. I don't dislike Kirk Cousins as a quarterback. I just don't think that he's good enough to lead an untalented and Deshaun Jackson-less team. I don't.
I don't think he's in the mix.
I think it'd be hard enough with Deshaun Jackson, but with him out, it's just, to me, it's impossible for them. I don't think they're going to beat the Eagles again. I don't know if they're going to beat the Giants at all. And you have to at least beat the Giants once and the Eagles once, which they already beat the Eagles once. But you have to beat the Giants once and the Eagles once. If Dallas never gets healthy, you can obviously get the Dallas one. But I don't know if they can beat the Giants even once, and you have to do that to win the division. So
right now, I guess we're going with either the Giants or Eagles.
I'm going with the Eagles, but I mean it's only because, like I said, I'm biased and I have a race in that horse, or a horse in that race. Moving on, the NFC West. It's easy to say Arizona will hold on to that division.
Yeah, it's so easy to say that.
But Seattle, St. Louis, both right there, chipping away, and they're not as dominant as we can just say that they're going to own the division moving.
No, honestly, they should have dominated that game against the Ravens, and they really did. I mean, they got the win, I get it, but it wasn't handily like I thought it was probably going to be. I think in theory it's going to come down to Arizona and St. Louis. Those are the two, heavy.
You don't think Seattle?
Granted, I did pick Seattle to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They're so spotty at this right now. It's so hard to say. Can they be in that mix and win the division? Right now, today, I'm saying no because of what they would have to face in an Arizona or a St. Louis. Now, if a Seattle would manage to pull it off and get into the playoffs, then I'm talking a completely different story, and I'm saying that they could be that threat, but maybe teams are finally actually starting to eclipse them is what I'm getting at.
Well, see, I agree with you, and as much as I'm not like the biggest Pete Carroll fan in the world, he's really good. Their defensive system's really good, even though I'm not the biggest Richard Sherman fan in the world. I don't think Kerry Williams is any good. I think he's been playing really bad, and he's part of the reason why they're in the situation they're in. But I'm not crazy, I'm not off thinking it's crazy that Pete Carroll can't turn this defense around, can't turn the system around. I think you got to figure out
it's not really crazy.
I think you got to figure out the offensive line situation, and Russell Wilson's basically carrying this offense in general. But if you can figure something out going forward, they win the games in the crucial times. They win the games in mid to late November. We're getting to November, so right. So they win the games in mid to late November and moving forward, and those are the important games. It's time to see if Arizona can do that moving forward. St. Louis, I don't want to just X them out. I do think that Nick Foles can carry, not carry a team, but he can help a
just
team.
Do enough.
Right, do enough. I don't think he's necessarily a game manager, but I don't think he's winning you the game. You know what I mean? Their defense is good. What the solid thing is what's going to win them games. I don't want to just write them off, but at the same time, I just think that the talent in Arizona is better than St. Louis, and I think that schemes in Seattle, if it came down to late in the season, you're really just going to end up saying defense against defense. You could probably maybe say that's equal or St. Louis is better. But if you're going about quarterback play, I'm going to take Russell Wilson over Nick Foles. That's why right now I'm going to go with Seattle. But I think Arizona has a really good chance at winning this division. And as you said, the reason we're talking about it is because St. Louis is in the mix.
They're still in that hunt, man.
Yeah. Well, who would you pick? If you had to make a decision right now, I would pick Seattle to win this division. But if you had to pick a decision right now
today, if I take away the fact that
we'll talk about it at the end. At the end of the year. Exactly. Erase that. Not just. I'm saying if you had to make a decision from this week, and we talk about it at the end of the year, who do you think is going to win the division?
Arizona.
You think Arizona?
Arizona.
And I don't.
They seem to be the most complete team.
Right. Their defense is playing really well, and I like Palmer. I don't know if Palmer can do this for the whole entire season. I think Ellington is hit or miss, and I think Chris Johnson's hit or miss. I don't think Chris Johnson can do this for the entire season.
Chris has been hit or miss.
Right, but I don't think he can do this for the entire season. So unless Ellington steps up for them at running back, which they have a pretty good offensive line, but unless Ellington steps up and be that feature running back that everyone thought he could be in years past, I don't see them being able to overcome Seattle. Seattle's got to figure it out on defense, though, and I could look really silly because if they don't, they might not win too many more games moving forward. They looked really good against San Francisco, but it's San Francisco, exactly. And they've had San Francisco's number forever.
Yeah, forever.
So, coming into the season, we thought that the NFC South was going to be as bad as it was last year. It was going to be garbage. We were completely wrong on that.
Yeah.
But you know what is as bad as the NFC South last year?
What's that?
The AFC South. They have, and I feel so silly saying this because I still like Andrew Luck a lot, but I feel so silly saying this. Man. I said that Tennessee has a quarterback that we could be talking about for 10 years, and Jacksonville has a quarterback we can talk about 10 years, and Houston might draft a quarterback that we can talk about for 10 years. But, man, even if all their quarterbacks are as good as I think moving forward they could be outside of Houston, and if they draft one, we'll get to it, whatever.
Right.
The rest of their teams are so pathetic that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is such
a mess, dude.
The Colts I thought last year they were a little overrated.
They lost to New Orleans in devastating fashion.
We talk about it. We talk about it all the time how elite the Colts are and how we thought. But last year coming into the season, I was not sold on them, right? And then this year coming into the season, I was 360. I was like, you know what? I believe in what everybody's saying. They are consistent. They are, and I'm done. I'm baffled. Is it Chuck Pagano? He's gonna get fired, right?
They're gonna put the blame on him regardless. I mean, a lot of people.
Well, you're not gonna get rid of Andrew Luck.
They're not gonna get rid of the GM. So who are you gonna get rid of?
Right, Chuck Pagano.
You're getting rid of the coach. I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily him. Yeah, he's made some bonehead calls, but I don't know if it's just him. I think it's more so just as much as going into the season, I thought that Andrew Luck finally did get the talent. He had the Andre Johnson. He had the Frank Gore. I thought that was huge for him.
The Eagles legend Frank Gore didn't pan out as well for the Colts as we thought he was going to in Philly. Because he said he was coming to Philly and he decided not to. Bum. I don't even dislike Frank Gore like that, but I'm just salty about the situation.
I understand.
Anyways.
But anyway, so back to Indianapolis. Dude, you said you're done. You jumped off that wagon.
I jumped
You're
off. No,
done.
but it's not that I jumped off
for
the
this
wagon.
year. For this year.
I mean, for this year to do anything past the playoffs, but they're gonna win. They're gonna go to the playoffs by default. Look at the rest of their division.
So that's the thing, is that maybe they can get into the playoffs and they can maybe turn around and get some work on. I don't know. Who else is going to win that division? I mean,
no, I know they're going to win the division. I said that they're going to go into the playoffs. I just don't see them doing anything in the playoffs. They're going to win the division because Jacksonville's not going to win.
It's default.
Jacksonville has 2 wins. It's the most wins they've had in 5 years.
Yeah.
In week 7.
Yeah.
So it's not like I see them rattling off another 4 or 5 wins.
No.
I don't see Tennessee turning this around. Mariota's got to get healthy, and their defense has got to figure it out, man.
My problem with Tennessee is their defense. Their defense is actually pretty solid. They're number 3 against the pass,
right?
And yards allowed, but they're 29th against the run.
Right.
But I don't think that their defense is the biggest question mark. I think the biggest question mark for Tennessee is the fact that you got this rookie quarterback that can't stop turning the ball over. I think that's a bigger issue.
He's injured too.
Right, and that's the problem as well. So I don't think it's...
Well, I think their biggest issue is their offensive line, and I mean, overall, you got to get more talent around Mariota.
Right. Oh, absolutely. He doesn't have any weapons out there. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So going back, who could win this division?
It's going to be the Colts.
Right. It's kind of, I mean, it's still open, but by default, it would have to be an
The only thing I would say is I like the way Jacksonville's offense is playing. I mean, their defense doesn't seem like they could, stop a whole lot of teams, but their offense is playing really well and
much better than anticipated.
Yeah, and I like how Bortles and the rest of the offense is playing, but he's still turning the ball over a good amount.
Yeah, Jacksonville, they put up some numbers over in England, so I mean that's very impressive.
Yeah. No, I agree.
By default, it has to be Indianapolis.
Right, I agree that it could be by default Indianapolis just because of Andrew Luck.
They're not going to upgrade the roster, so at this point they're just going to have to just win a division, get to the playoffs, and hopefully maybe do something. Who knows?
Yeah, figure it out in the draft and next season. Very high expectations for them. Not really panning out.
Nope.
This is the portion of JD Sports where we break down a couple of games. We're going to dive right into it with Cincinnati going to Pittsburgh. Big divisional game. Big Ben is back.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal in the way Pittsburgh's defense has been playing, except for the New England game and last week at times because they lost to Kansas City, and I think they could have been able to beat them. But at the same time, their defense played well overall. I'm excited to see how their defense plays against an elite offense in the way that Cincinnati has been playing.
Definitely, it's going to be a toss-up.
Yeah, it will.
It's going to be a challenge for him, absolutely.
And if Big Ben comes back playing the quarterback play that he was before the injury,
going up 350, and it's very impressive.
And Brown, I mean,
it's a problem.
Right, and he'll be back with Bell. It'll be his first full game with Bell. I'm taking Cincinnati.
Right.
I like the way Cincinnati's defense has been playing. And I like the way, obviously, their offense has been playing. I think they can do enough, and I think their offense, if it really came down to it in a shootout, while I'm not saying Pittsburgh's offense couldn't, I just think that I trust Cincinnati's offense a little more right now. That's why I'm going with Cincinnati. But it's a big, almost desperate divisional game for Pittsburgh. So, and it's not, who are you thinking?
Cincinnati right now is just rolling, and Pittsburgh needs to slow that momentum down, get this win. I'm going with Pittsburgh with a healthy Big Ben coming back, and they're saying right now he's playing, so I will go with that. I just feel like he's going to come back and just go right back to what he was doing. Cincinnati's pass defense is spectacular by any means. We've talked about it many times. Yeah. So I think when he comes back, he's going to be at home. He's going to be just right back in the rhythm of things. He's going to get, maybe he doesn't get the 350, but he's going to put up some yards against them. And I think, they've won the last 3 meetings against them, spending back 2 years. So I feel like they're not going to sweep Cincinnati this year like they did last year, but I think they will get this win at home.
Okay. Green Bay going to Denver, 6-0 versus 6-0. This might be the matchup of the weekend.
Whew. It's going to be a struggle.
The thing with Peyton, he's struggling. Yeah. And, I mean, that is the only problem that Denver is facing right now. I think they have more turnovers than they do have touchdowns for the season, so... Yeah.
The offense is really bad right now.
It's not even, and they have the talent. The offensive line seems to be a little hit or miss, but I don't know if that's because of talent or if that's just because of how hard it seems to play offensive line in the NFL right now.
Right. They also don't get into the end zone whatsoever.
Right. Oh,
they stall out so many times.
Yeah. No,
it's a mess.
Yeah. And I'm with you. And they have flashes in the pans where sometimes they look good, or Manning will just throw it up and Demaryius Thomas will come down with it type thing. But overall, it's not consistent. Right. And it's not what you're used to seeing from the Denver offense. That's why I'm going to pick Green Bay. But I think right now, Aaron Rodgers is getting too much love, and the Packers defense isn't getting enough love. Packers defense giving up the least amount of points in the entire season per game. And I mean, nothing against, because it's not that I think that Aaron Rodgers is getting too much love. Listen, he lost his best wide receiver before the year. They're 6-0, and he's playing at a pretty high level, just falling off by just a little bit, and people are, you know what I mean, like, not freaking out, but he's not having to say relax yet, but at the same time, kind of like relax. Like, look at what he's still playing pretty well, you know? So that's why I'm going with Green Bay, because I think overall, you're putting the two teams up against each other. I just trust their offense more than I trust Denver's offense. As good as Denver's defense is, I think that Green Bay's defense is really good, and I don't think Denver's offense is going to
Peyton Manning, his numbers have steadily gotten worse with each game. His passing percentage, his yards, his the turnover, everything, his rating, everything has steadily gotten worse. So it's a complete mess. The running game is just as bad, if not worse, than the way he's been playing. In saying that, I'm going with Denver. I'm going with Denver at home because I don't feel like Green Bay is going undefeated. They have Denver this week. They got Carolina next week. So 1 or 2, they're going to lose.
Yeah.
I'm going with Denver just because of Denver's defense. And I feel like at home, maybe Peyton snaps out of it against Aaron Rodgers in a shootout. I mean, at this rate, it probably won't happen.
Doesn't seem like it.
It doesn't seem like it. No, not at all. Is it crazy to think? Maybe just a little bit, but there's a part of me that thinks maybe he could snap out of it and do something in this game. Maybe for one game this happens.
He's had a little more time to diagnose the defense, A, and B, figure out maybe what he wants to do on offense a little bit. You know what I mean? Maybe he thinks, okay, I need to change it up a little bit, and maybe he took the time off to reassess this situation. And put together. It's Peyton Manning. You know, he's smartest quarterback that I've seen.
Right, and again, it may not seem like it's realistic, but I'm just going with Denver because I think they have to get together. Maybe they will, and the defense will hold Aaron Rodgers.
It's going to be an interesting matchup either way, and I think both defenses are going to play really well.
Green Bay isn't shooting people out either,
I understand.
They're susceptible to losing.
Their defense is a big part of the reason they're 6-0, because if their defense was any worse, they might have 2 or 3 losses. So the fact that they're 6-0, like you said, they're not just shooting people out. Moving on, Indy going to Carolina. We talk a lot about Cam Newton. We talk a lot about Indy coming into the season. We know where both franchises are standing at the moment so far this season. I'm assuming you're going with...
You think I'm going with Indy?
No.
I'm not.
I think you're going with Carolina.
I'm going Carolina. So what? So I guess I went from being a hater to a bandwagoner?
No, I don't think so. But you see the light a little more.
I see what they're facing this week. Yeah. I see, even though what we both felt Indy could possibly do this year, I also see what they're facing right now with a team that's actually rolling in Carolina. The defense is playing incredible. Cam Newton just seems to do enough to get it done, and we keep repeating ourselves with this team.
I say it every week. Good defense, good offensive line, good quarterback. I'm going to take Carolina in this.
If you're going to struggle against a New Orleans team like that really is a rolling, what are you going to do against a team that's undefeated with a dominant defense?
On the road.
Right.
Playing some pretty good football overall.
Right.
Got the huge win against Seattle 2 weeks ago. Played pretty well against Philly overall. Their defense had to feel pretty good, and their offense did enough. Like I said, they added a whole new running element to their game. They already had Cam Newton as their running element. They added another dimension to their running element. They feel really good about themselves right now.
They have to. I feel like this is only going to keep carrying on.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, 11 of the last 12 regular season games. I think it's just going to keep going.
Doesn't make any sense, but hey, it's working.
Yeah. This part of JD Sports, we're going to be talking about our picks. Last week I won an 11-3.
Last week I was 9-5.
Oh, my overall record is 67-38.
You starting to pull away a little bit. I was 64-41.
No, you were beating me for a little bit.
We really switched roles.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm finally kind of getting in the groove with things. There's a lot of season left, though. Well, opening up, talking about the Thursday night game. We talked a lot about Miami. We talked a lot about New England. This is a pretty interesting game. It's the first one. It's on prime time in front of the world. Dan Campbell has a chance to make the statement, and...
He's not going to.
Yeah.
No, he's not going to.
I completely agree with you. Unfortunately, this is Belichick's favorite things to do, and then he'll just embarrass you.
Yeah, then we're going right back to where we're talking about. Miami's back to reality. Honestly, no. I actually think that they could make it a little interesting, maybe for a half.
I hope so.
A half.
No, I hope overall they make it interesting.
I don't think they're going to do what the Jets were able to do, but I think they can make it a little interesting for a little bit of time, but then... Again, it's just going to be a situation where who you're facing, what's going on, what's the circumstances.
What I truly think is going to happen because of Dan Campbell, it was his first 2 games, the talent that they played before. Belichick's really going to go out there to try to make a statement.
Oh, yeah,
and especially the way they played last week, he probably feels like, hey, we got to play a perfect game to show everybody that we are the number one team in the league.
Right.
All that kind of stuff. I'm going to take New England, probably in a blowout, but I hope to see it be a really close game.
I can see it being close.
I like the way that Tannehill's been playing. I like the way that the offense has been playing. The defense, obviously, stepping up lately. Not against the best offensive talent, but they have confidence. That's got to do something for them. We'll see where they go. We're going to New England, though. Detroit going over to England to play Kansas City.
Again with this England thing.
At least it's a 9:30 game. You don't have to stream it.
I won't be waking up for it.
Yeah, but it will be on Fox, so you can watch it on your local TV.
Fox, there's your plug. Who am I going with? By default, I'm just going to go with... I don't have any real rhyme or reason why I'm going to pick them, but I'm going to go with Detroit. I think they're going to get their second win over in England. There's no rhyme or reason. I'm just going with them. Coin flip.
I'm going with Kansas City. Kind of the same thing. No real rhyme or reason, but I think that Kansas City can put it together. They got a win against Pittsburgh last week, who I think is a solid team. Their offense, not like they played great against Pittsburgh, but they moved the ball a little bit against Pittsburgh, which they haven't really done all that well all season long. So I'm going to take Kansas City just because of how bad Detroit's playing overall in general. Moving on, Minnesota going to Chicago. It's a divisional game. Minnesota, we say it every week. Got to keep watching out for them, man. They're playing really well. Going to Chicago. Who you taking?
I'm going Minnesota. The only thing that I feel with Minnesota is that against Detroit, there was a couple of drives in a row where Bridgewater wasn't getting protected. He wasn't necessarily getting sacked, but every single down he was getting hit, and that's a problem.
He's mobile enough to get away from that stuff, but
Right.
I'm with you that, yes, that offensive line is a problem. Their defense, which I'm not 100% positive on this because we were talking about it, but I'm pretty sure they're second in points against with 18. I think it's 17 or 18 points against. They're only 0.2 behind Green Bay, who's number one. But their defense, I think, overall is playing well. And the offensive line is the only thing that I have an issue with. That Diggs, the rookie, he had an unbelievable catch, but he's playing well overall. It's not just that catch. He's playing really good football. Adrian Peterson, if you can get him going, Bridgewater, man, they can be sneaky good. Plus Chicago. I mean, I'm going with Minnesota in that game. San Diego in a 1 o'clock time slot, flying to Baltimore, playing Flacco. Who you taking?
I'm going with the boy that you don't like.
You're going with Rivers?
I'm going Rivers.
I mean, it's Rivers versus Flacco. Who do you think I'm taking? I'm taking Flacco. I love me some Flacco.
The thing with Flacco is that he's averaging 350 yards a game. The problem is their defense and their running game. I get it.
I agree.
He doesn't have any help whatsoever.
No, I understand.
He's out there doing work as much flack as you get him, and no pun intended. As much criticism as you give him, I understand it. But
Flacco?
No,
Rivers.
Yeah, as much criticism as you give Rivers, he's actually playing all right out there, but he doesn't have any help. But in saying that, I'm still going with San Diego against this questionable Ravens team.
You're going with San Diego in the 1 o'clock time slot against Baltimore, who played
I'm
well?
going yep.
I'm picking Baltimore.
Traveling out east.
I'm picking Baltimore, A, because I believe in the 1 o'clock time slot thing, and B, I just think that Baltimore is a better team. Maybe not overall, but I'm going to take Flacco over Rivers any day. Moving on, the Giants taking on New Orleans. New Orleans has looked good lately.
Yeah, this is one of those ones
the
where
Giants
it's
are a coin flip every week.
Every single week, and you gotta say the same thing about New Orleans.
Oh, no, absolutely. They're playing better lately.
They are playing better lately, but I'm going with New Orleans.
Well, I'm picking New Orleans. It's in New Orleans. Maybe I'm a little biased, just hoping the Giants lose, and that's why I'm picking New Orleans. But I hope that's not the reason. I honestly think there's reasons that New Orleans can win this game.
Right.
The Giants are inconsistent. That's one of the reasons. But at the same time, like you said, it's not like New Orleans has been the most consistent team in the world.
No, they have one of the worst defenses in the league. But in saying that, we also say that how spotty the Giants' offense is. I think Drew Brees is just going to do enough to get the win at home.
We talked about the Giants and maybe keeping a hold of the NFC East and winning the division. These are the kind of games that they're going to have to win from here on out.
You have to get this.
You can beat New Orleans. The Giants are talented enough to beat New Orleans. You need to win this game to keep moving your momentum forward. Plus, if they win this game, that's a two-game lead on the Eagles because the Eagles have a bye. So stranglehold on the division a little bit. Kind of makes you feel a little better moving on. We talked about this earlier. Cincinnati going to Pittsburgh. Just for clarification, who you got?
I'm going with Pittsburgh.
Okay, you're going with Pittsburgh.
I'm going with Pittsburgh.
I'm taking Cincinnati. Moving on, Arizona going to Cleveland in the 1 o'clock time slot.
I'm taking Arizona.
I'm taking Arizona too, even though
simple.
I believe in the 1 o'clock time slot thing. But Cam was out at the end of the season, at the end of the last game. Manziel came in. I don't know who's going to start.
Cleveland seems to kind of do their thing here. They're the offense kind of puts up some numbers out there.
It's weird. Their defense isn't
It's really hit or
horrible.
miss.
Their offense isn't horrible, but
No,
they don't
but they're not
ever
great.
look not horrible at the same time.
Right.
One looks really horrible when the other one doesn't, and it just seems like, or they botch something on special teams. It is weird things happen, and they're just not talented enough to overcome individual mistakes, like I said about the Eagles. But it's even worse with that. San Francisco going to St. Louis, also in the 1 o'clock time slot.
I'm going with St. Louis. This isn't even a question.
Yeah, I'm going to pick St. Louis as well. I think their defense can shut down Kaepernick and the Niners' offense. Interesting. I've heard a lot of rumblings. Kaepernick's actually not playing all that bad. It's everything else around him. I mean, the eye test would, I think, say different than that. But at the same time, if you really look at his numbers, it's still, like, better than, some of the winning quarterbacks.
Yeah, but no.
No, I'm with you. I completely agree.
49ers have nothing going for them right
I've
now.
never been a Kaepernick fan anyways. That's just me giving him a little bit of credit somewhere if he kind of deserves it. But at the same time, quarterback play is the most important part of the team. And if he's not playing at an elite level, he's not going to be able to carry them. So everything else is just showing even worse. Foles hasn't played particularly well, but against San Francisco's defense,
Should be real simple for
right,
him.
he can turn it around a little
Definitely.
bit, get something rolling. I think they're sort of talented on offense, and Gurley's playing a lot better, obviously. Tampa Bay going to Atlanta. I want to pick Jameis, but I always want to pick him. Their defense is so because their offense has improved so much this year. They're putting up well more points than they were last year. They're on average to double everything from last year, and it's simply because of Jameis.
Right.
I love Jameis Winston. Their defense is twice as bad though, and Atlanta's offense is really good. I'm going with Atlanta.
Atlanta's been really spotty lately, and it's been kind of sketchy. I don't know how to feel about him, but in this game against Jameis Winston, no, I'm going with Atlanta all day.
Matt Ryan, if Kirk Cousins can destroy Tampa's defense at times, I'm pretty sure Matt Ryan will be okay.
And Julio Jones?
Yeah, they should be all right. Freeman's playing a little better too lately, huh?
Definitely.
The Jets going to Oakland. I wanted to pick Oakland really bad because I like the way they're playing, but I just think the Jets' defense is really strong, and their offense is going to be able to, because Oakland's defense isn't all that great, move the ball, put enough points on the board. I'm going with the Jets. I just think they're a better coach. They have a little more talent, but I like Oakland's direction, and man, have they looked better lately.
I can give you that, but at the same time, I'm still going with the Jets. Granted, they're traveling cross country that whole bit.
No, I'm picking the Jets.
But no, I feel like that defense is going to do
It's
work.
a little less than the 4 o'clock time slot. You ain't got to worry about it. Seattle going to your boys. Who you taking? I hear you. I'm going with Seattle as well. It's hard, man. I mean, Matt Castle's the quarterback. I said last week I wanted to see him play a little better. Good thing. Dez might be coming back. Even better thing, Castle might throw to Dez like 100 times.
But you know what? I'm going with the Cowboys.
You're going with the Cowboys?
It's kind of by default.
Because they need it.
Because they need it, and because of my fandom, and because our defensive line against their offensive line, I feel like they're going to.
Because of my fandom.
Because of my fandom. I call it what it is. I don't deny it. There's no reason other than no, because I feel like our defensive line is going to destroy that horrible offensive line in Seattle. And Seattle on the road historically isn't that great as they are at home. So I mean,
I agree with that. Hey,
why should I go against them?
I don't think it's out of the question that Dallas can win the game, especially because Dez comes back, and if they can find Dez enough, I mean, because Richard Sherman isn't going to run around the field, you can match him up against Kerry Williams often, and you know what he does against Kerry Williams? Scores a lot of touchdowns. Watched it last year happen a couple of times.
Right. And who's to say that McFadden is going to do another 100-yard game?
No, you're absolutely right. Their offensive line is playing well. If they can win the turnover battle.
Other than the turnovers,
like you said,
we should have beat the Giants.
Right, like you said, they got to be getting the sacks. Blows up, has a big day or whatever.
Then it's a wrap.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. I think that Seattle is going to be able to overcome it, but I don't think you're crazy. I was laughing, but I was only laughing because of how you put it together. I don't think it's crazy. I say it every week. I don't think
we do say it every week. It's not necessarily crazy
because they have the talent. Because they have the talent that I think they could even beat a Seattle. But like you said, Seattle doesn't play as well on the road. And I mean, if Dez is playing and he's lined up against Kerry Williams often in this,
that's a whole different monster.
I don't care who's throwing to him. If he's lined up against a player that he has dominated many times before, I'm pretty sure you can figure out how to get it done.
Absolutely.
Forgot to talk about this in the 1 o'clock hour. How do we forget about Tennessee playing Houston?
Tennessee playing Houston, I'm going with Tennessee.
Hey, at least Tennessee, who moved from Houston, you know what I mean? So, I mean, right? You got a little interest there now?
No.
I'm taking Tennessee. I like Mettenberger. Houston's just a mess, and that's really the only reason.
Yeah,
So
there's nothing there for Houston.
okay. Green Bay and Denver. I'm picking Green Bay.
I'm going with Denver.
In the last one we talked about it, but clarification: Indy going to Carolina.
Going Carolina.
Yeah, I'm picking Carolina as well. This portion of JD Sports, we talk about the I'm Just Saying. I started off 2 weeks ago. You started off last week, so I'll take it away this first week.
Hey, have at it, man.
Okay.
This is turning into my favorite segment.
Well, I'm Just Saying this week. Now, everyone gets on Joe Flacco. Everybody, listen, Ravens fans, a lot of Ravens fans don't like Joe Flacco. They think his contract was too big, which I think the situation they're in is part of the reason with his contract. But at the same time, he's had 4 different coordinators in 4 different years. They broke it down really well before the Monday night game about how the simple play call or a different, close to the same name kind of play call where a wide receiver's just running a different pattern. It's easy for a quarterback in the NFL to get confused because of how similar most of these playbooks are, and they're not just going to bring in a complete brand new system for him. So if they're all running the West Coast system, the language is going to be similar and the routes are going to be similar, but you might be thinking this certain route is a different route because you said the same word last year. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
They're saying it's a little more difficult what he's going through than what most quarterbacks at an elite level go through. A lot of people don't think he's elite. I think that's crazy. I think he is elite. Each and every week, he has his team going down the field in the fourth quarter to maybe come back. I understand that it doesn't happen every week, and you have situations like this week where he throws an interception. But
it's going to happen.
3 plays before that, the same exact thing happened where Arizona all-out blitz, and he hit the same receiver for a 30-yard gain and put him in that position. What happened on that play? He just threw it up. I understand. It happens. And yes, that play is on Joe Flacco. But overall, the entire game, he was carrying that team, and he was the reason that their offense was in the position they were in. And each and every single week, he's the reason they are, and he's the reason that they aren't getting blown out. In my eyes, I don't think they have a ton of talent around them. Their offensive line isn't great.
No.
I'm just saying, to me, it's crazy that people don't think that Joe Flacco is an elite quarterback, and to me, it's crazy that people talk about that he's trash or that he's the reason that they're in this situation, because it couldn't be further from the truth. And I'm just saying, if Ravens fans want to switch quarterbacks, as much as I believe that Bradford can turn it around, I will take Flacco any day of the week.
Well, if you're going to make that comparison, I can.
No, but it's not even just that comparison.
Right,
but that's my point.
No, I understand.
If you talk to Ravens fans, you would think that I used to live in Ocean City, Maryland, and I have a decent amount of friends that are Ravens fans. You would think that Joe Flacco is Sam Bradford right now. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I'm just saying, I think that Joe Flacco is. I honestly do think you could put him in a top 5 category. People are going to argue that all day, and I understand that people will. But just to me, watching him and putting his team in the situations that he's put them in, his whole career. I mean, he hasn't missed the playoffs once in his whole career. It's just it's astonishing to me. Like I'm just saying, Joe Flacco is way better than anybody gives him credit for.
I hear you. I mean, I won't necessarily say he's elite. I can't argue. I have no argument against it. I won't say he's elite.
You're one of the few people that I've had the conversation in front of that haven't tried to argue with me that he's like at least maybe in the class, because most people just absolutely disagree with me.
I don't.
He's right there, man.
Yeah, I feel like he's a very good quarterback.
Yeah.
Can I say, I won't say he's elite, but he is a very good quarterback.
Right.
I think
it's hard to say with their record this year that he's elite, and I understand that.
He kind of gets the Eli Manning treatment.
But nothing, I understand that, but I think, and I honestly think that overall throughout their careers, while Manning's going to have the 2 Super Bowls, if you take their numbers, Joe Flacco's going to be way better.
I would take Joe Flacco over
You might be able to argue with basically the same talent around them, and Flacco might just not have had the same amount of nice running backs. Ray Rice was a really good running back at the time.
But he started defense.
And he had a really good defense. But he started falling off there before all the issues with Ray Rice at the end. But that's why I'm just saying. Dwight, that was my I'm Just Saying. You got an I'm Just Saying this week?
Oh, absolutely. I always got I'm Just Saying.
Well,
I always got a lot to say, right? I'm the guy that I just talk. I got everything to say. My I'm Just Saying this week kind of ties into the whole Greg Hardy thing. We touched base on it a little bit earlier. Yep. But I kind of want to expand this whole idea a little bit further, as far as like the Greg Hardys of the world, the Dez Bryants of the world, the whole passion and energy thing. Yeah. I'm reading a lot of comments and listening to a lot of people and their feedback of how Greg Hardy handled it. And like I said, it's not just him and how he handled it. but it's the whole ideal in general of being riled up and being fired up that people seem to have an issue with players that are, this fired up, this rowdy side to them. I feel like we need to come to a realization of what we are watching. We're watching sports. We're watching football, whether it's basketball, baseball, or hockey. From my perspective, I want somebody on my team that's going to have this fire. I want somebody on my team that's going to have an edge to them. I want a Greg Hardy of the world. I want a Dez Bryant. I want a Matt Barnes on my basketball team. I want a Meta World Peace. I want somebody that not necessarily is going to start something and get into a fight. We don't want that. That's not necessary. Right. But what I want is somebody that's willing to get in a teammate's face, call them out when they're playing horribly, and, because some people just need that extra motivation. Not everybody is going to, respond to, well, can you please do a little bit better? Right. Not everybody responds to that. Some people need that push that a Kobe Bryant's going to come and get in your face and say, you know what are you doing? Do some work. You're failing right now, and the team is failing and losing because of you. I like that edge. So I'm just saying is that we need, as a society, I understand the world that we currently live in, and I understand that people don't want athletes and their role models to act a certain way. Yep. But I also understand that I'm watching a pro sport and I need somebody that's going to react the same way that I'm reacting at home, which is what's going on, why are you playing this way, we needed to get it together, so what the hell are you doing, get it right. That's I'm just saying.
Well, what I would say to that is in the 90s when Michael Irving was doing it, it was fire and passion. And right now, when Greg Hardy's doing it, it's the exact opposite. Now, you
took it that way.
But now, at the same time, Greg Hardy he's put his hand. I didn't like the way that Greg Hardy went about it. I'm not disagreeing. No. We talked about that in particular situation, and I'm not disagreeing with what you said overall with the Meta World Pieces and all that, because, and I think if you're really talking about Dallas, I mean, they have so many other guys who are on the flip end of that and even their coaching staff, I don't know what their assistant coaches are like, but you see Jason Garrett, he's not going to be screaming in someone's face the way that Greg Hardy or Bryant does. No. So the fact that you have two guys on the team like that, it's not necessarily a horrible thing, like you said, because you have coaches that will do things like that. Right. He's just not one of them.
And you know what? I was also reading online and listening to people. People were saying, and you touch based on it. When Tom Brady does this, it's passion, it's energy. Look at him fired up. He's getting the guys fired up. But when Dez Bryant does it, let's take Greg Hardy out of the equation. Yeah. But in saying that, I also heard people saying, well, if Dez Bryant is the one over there correcting Greg Hardy, then that says a whole lot about your team. What the hell are you talking about? Because he has that edge, that fire, and that passion, he's caused no issues on Dallas, on or off the field since he's been there. Number one.
Listen, I hate it, but I'm a Dez supporter.
He has that old school mindset, and so do I. That sometimes you just gotta be real and get in somebody's face and tell them what it is, and come at it. We're so sensitive as a society, and we expect our sports to be the same way when we're not that way when we're watching the damn game.
Brian Dawkins flipping out, screaming, like his arms flailing. He's basically like worming his way from the tunnel to the 50-yard line. That's passion and good craziness, but Dez Bryant screaming and yelling is bad craziness. I don't understand people's rationale in that. I'm 100% with you.
Pick and choose.
And like we said, the Greg Hardy situation, he's an individual, and like if this was Ocho Cinco doing this, we would be saying different things. Right, exactly. We'd be laughing. But at the same time, Ocho Cinco's not going to put two hands on his coordinator, and he's not going to be spitting and screaming in his players' face.
There is that fine line, and I get that. So maybe take.
Like we said, Greg Hardy is a different case.
Take him out.
But if you're talking about Dez Bryant, Meta World Peace,
we don't even have to take Greg Hardy out of the equation because you ignored that little physical thing that went on. No, I feel like he was in the right and getting fired up and I like that he got
where he was coming.
I was cool with it.
Where he was coming from is what you like.
Yes, his execution was poor.
Let's not cross the line. But the idea of what you want Greg Hardy to do in that situation was there. Though.
If you don't have those type of players on any, I don't care what sport it is, then you're not. Then you have nothing, in my opinion, because you need that edge to be great and to win championships or titles or rings, whatever you want to call it. You're not. You need those guys that are going to fire you up.
As much as I'm like always. Not on the edge about it because you have guys like Greg Hardy that's where I find the issues to be. But on the flip end of it, Michael Jordan was the king at doing that. Kobe Bryant,
Kobe's the same way.
Right, and
now they're getting on Kobe.
But and I love that they do it. So that's why I'm more open-minded to, like you said, about the Dez Bryants and the Metal World Pieces and guys with a little more of an edge. If there's a right way to go about it, and if you go about it the right way, I love it, and I would love those players on my team as well. But the flip end of that, like we said, if Greg Hardy's the one doing it, it's not as fun and it's not as good.
I'm just saying we need to stop. I get it, our society is very sensitive right now, but from a sporting perspective, fans need to stop pretending that they're not acting the same way, freaking out when things go wrong. So I'm just saying.
That, yeah, you're absolutely right, because everybody's not just screaming at their TV, but even more, A, these players have a little more invested in that game than we do while we're screaming at the TV.
Absolutely.
And B, I mean, I don't have as much testosterone in my body as these guys.
No.
Like, these guys they're so fired up, and that's a whole different mentality. They're screaming and yelling at each other from 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. Do you know what I mean? So the fact that by the time 4 o'clock rolls around and Greg Hardy's getting in people's faces because he's irritated, I mean,
it's going to happen.
Right, exactly. And it might happen more than we think it happens behind the scenes.
It absolutely does.
Probably.
So I'm just saying, get over it.
Yep. Locker room fights like Geno Smith usually don't come out into the unless there's a broken jaw involved. Usually don't come out, but there's locker room fights. I mean, these things happen all the time. Yeah, I'm with you. This was JD Sports. Thank you for watching. I'm Jarrett Hood. This is Dwight Garfield. You can find our Twitters on the show's Twitter, which is @_JD Sports. Everything else is on YouTube page below. Thank you for watching.
Peace out.